Live from the House of LeMay Makeup and Dressing Room.
Here comes Amber. Stop what you're doing. Here comes Amber. She's just doing what she can. Here comes Amber. Cue the spotlight. Here comes Amber with 2 drinks in her hand. The matriarch of fashion, secrets to her glasses, you can't look away. Ask her, does she do it? There's really nothing to it. She's got that feminine game. If you have a party, or if you're feeling naughty, call up the House of LeMay. Here comes your favorite gal. Here comes your queen. Here comes the talk of the town. It's Amber Live tonight. The music starts playing. It's time for cabareting on Amber Live tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all cell phones and get ready for your host, Amber LeMay.
Boom! It's Halloween night. That is if you're watching live, and if you're watching dead, it is still Halloween night. Any way you look at it, I want you to like, share, and subscribe right now, or I'm going to come to your house and scare you even more than I am right now. Oh, do we have a Halloween special? It's Amber Live's second annual Halloween special. And to tell us all about it, let's bring in Russell. Hey, Russell.
Hello, Amber.
Ooh, where are you calling from tonight?
Oh, deep, dark in the corners of Queens.
Ooh, those are some scary queens, I can tell you that. And I know scary queens.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So Russell, we've got some new viewers tonight, so tell them, how's the best way to watch?
Well, even on Halloween, the best way to watch is over on YouTube. And if you go to youtube.com/AmberLive, you can see Amber in all her glory, because there she's in full HD. So we recommend watching on YouTube. You can also find the YouTube stream at amberlive.tv. And don't forget to check out our TikTok, because we've got lots of great Halloween things going on TikTok that we've been putting up with Lucy Bell, mixing some scary drinks, and Amber and everybody. We've got spooky stories. There's a little bit of everything up there, and some of it's not on our regular show. So don't forget to check out TikTok too.
And we're reaching up to 13,000 followers on TikTok.
We are headed that way. Yes.
All right. You want to subscribe, because you'll find out every Wednesday night we do Amber Chat, and that we talk about what's going on in the world. Who knows what we had for supper, what movies we've been watching. We've had people from California, Hawaii, Newfoundland, England, Australia, Florida, Tennessee, New York, Ohio, just all over. People just coming on, watching and contributing, or just being voyeurs, which we don't care. We have a good time every Wednesday night, about 8:15 Eastern. We log on and just chat for a while, and it's a fun night.
Yes, it is. And bring your questions. Ask Amber anything you would like.
Anything.
She wants to hear from you. And we get lots of interesting conversations going on.
Oh, Russell, I see you're having a little sip there. And
I am having a sip.
And how could people get one of those mugs?
Oh, you can get a Amber Live mug by going to amberlive.tv and just looking for the button that says store. And that's where you can order them. Or you could become a bustier. Yes. And our bustiers are, if you look here, you can see a list of all the people that have helped us out, who have kept this show going. And if you look, you can see there it says Venmo at RJD Pro. That's how you can contribute to the bustiers. Or you can do it using the button down below that says Support Amber Live. And you go to amberlive.tv and look for that button, and they'll take your credit card there. If you'd like to be a bustier, you can contribute any amount. But if you give $25 or more, you'll get a Amber Live sticker. For $100 or more, you get a sticker and a magnet. And then for $200 or more, you get the sticker, the magnet, and that incredible mug. So please consider becoming a bustier, helping us out, keeping us going here. And you can see there it's Venmo at RJD Pro. So thank you all to our bustiers. You are very important to this show.
Yes, thank you. We've got some great shows coming up. Oh my gosh. This week we did a recording of when can we break that news, Russell? When can we tell?
I don't know. When would you like to break that news? We'll probably have broken it by this point anyway. But if you'd like to give it away, go for it. Yes, an amazing interview of Carol Baskin that will be coming up on Amber Live in the future. And it's thanks to our bustiers that we've gotten to the point where we can get people like Carol on. And she's incredible. This shows a whole new side of her that you haven't seen before, and it's worth watching. This is a great interview. So.
Whoa, great interview. Great. That'll be a whole show.
But that's not tonight. It will be a whole show.
So who do we have on the show tonight? What
oh my goodness, tonight we have so much tonight. We have coming from his spooky basement, we have Charles Rosenay, who is a scary tour guide operator. I've been on a couple of his tours. I went to Transylvania with him. I've been to England with him on a ghost tour, but he goes all over the world. He did a ghost tour to Cuba, I believe, and he's going to talk about that. Then we have our dear friend Thea Lewis back from beyond the grave to tell scary stories of Burlington. And we have Duane Scott Cerny joining us with a brand new segment. And tonight he's featuring spooky antiques to talk with Amber about.
And he did a palm reading of Amber, and pretty darn close. It's pretty damn accurate.
Yes, and then we may have some more people dropping in for some fun tonight as well. So stay tuned.
All right. Yes, who knows? Just stick around and you'll be surprised. All right, let's get on with our first guest. Thank you, Russell. Yes, let's bring in Cryptmaster Chucky. Chucky, come on in.
I'm here.
Yes. Now, is Cryptmaster Chucky your birth name?
It's my first stage name, and Chucky's my second stage name. Yes.
Okay. All right. So with a name like that, you must be interested in Halloween a little bit, right?
Slightly. You know, I have two kind of full vocations all around entertainment, and one of them is horror. It's haunted houses. It's taking tours for people overseas who love the spooky stuff, and it's also a new book that I just wrote. So yeah, horror is a big part of my life and a big part of the things I do.
So you must have had a very traumatic childhood, I imagine, that created this fascination with horror.
So is that the case for the millions of people who love horror? They've all had traumatized childhoods?
Well, how did your fascination start?
That's a great question, and I actually write the story in my book. My mom, this was ages ago, as you know, I'm like Dracula, over 100 years old, and in those days, television was such that if you wanted to watch a movie, you couldn't pick it up on Netflix or on DVDs or rent it in any which way. You'd have to hope that it showed at a certain time, and if it showed, you'd either watch it or you were screwed because they didn't repeat it. Or it was a movie, and if you didn't have TV Guide, forget it. You'd never know what was on. But one night, a movie called Bride of Frankenstein with Boris Karloff and Elsa Lanchester was on the $1 Million Movie. And growing up in the Bronx and watching the New York channels, the $1 Million Movie would show at 7 or 8 o'clock at night on one of Channel 9, whatever it was. And then it would repeat every night for a week, the same movie. And that could have been Gone with the Wind or Mutiny on a Bounty or whatever the classic movie was. But this happened to be Bride of Frankenstein. And at 4 or 5, she said, "It's time you watched a movie with me that's a little different than most of the movies we watch." And I said, okay. And then I heard the first notes of the movie, and I was this. I did not want to watch this movie. And I sat there with my head tucked into her bosom, and I would not open my eyes and look at a single scene. Well, Amber, wouldn't you know, it's on the next night, and Mom says we're watching it again. And this time she gets a blanket. This time she gets popcorn, a little brainwash material. And the next night, I'm kind of watching it like this, through looking at it a little and not really absorbing what's going on. The third night, I watch it with my eyes open. And on the fourth day, I said, Mom, what time is it on? I can't wait to see it again. So I was hooked by Bride of Frankenstein, but it took a little coaxing, a little coercing. And then what we did was every day we'd look in the TV guide to see if a Bela Lugosi movie was on, or a Wolfman movie was on, or one of those Universal horror films, which is what you're weaned on, and then it leads to everything else. So that was my history of falling in love with horror, kind of not wanting to, but loving that I did.
So as a kid with this obsession or early fascination, how were you treated around the neighborhood? Did you share it with your playmates, or?
What we shared, I remember, was trading cards, like the baseball cards. There would be horror cards, and there was also monster models, and I would get all of those and I would assemble them, and other friends would do the same, and we'd share and show each other. And then we also bought monster magazines, and I don't know if I could show this from the book. I don't know if this comes out here, but this is me, Amber, as a kid. And you can see the monster models. It's a miracle that I have this photo. And I wish I sent it into you before so you could have showed it better. It's me playing with the creature from the Black Lagoon and all these monster models. And behind me, there's a Beatles poster, which is crazy because those are, like music growing up, and the monster stuff were two of my biggest passions.
Yeah, I will be talking to you in a future episode about the Beatles. So
yes.
All right. So you're growing up. Halloween. What was your first memories of Halloween? What did you like to go as?
So that's crazy because I don't remember doing Halloween in the Bronx. I guess when you grow up in the Bronx, everything is so scary that Halloween really doesn't have that big of a meaning. Just stepping out the door and seeing the people down the street on Tremont Avenue is probably scarier than anything Halloween. So I don't think Mom and Dad gave me the baskets to go around until we came to Connecticut. By then I was, like 10 or 11, and I was a bigger husky kid, and people were saying, hey, isn't he too old to go trick-or-treating? So, so I try to find younger kids to go with so we can all go and I wouldn't feel so bad. And the greatest thing eventually was when my kids were old enough to go trick-or-treating and we all go together. So my best memories of trick-or-treating are with my kids, because I would do it up. I'd get them, the most ridiculous monster costumes and makeup, and as if they were doing a Hollywood production. I'd really get it all done, and I'd make myself up too, just because I wanted to get in the spirit of it. And we'd find neighborhoods. I remember one weekend we were at the Chiller Theater Expo in New Jersey. And we were spending the weekend there, but we took off like 2 hours and found a cool New Jersey neighborhood where, we got word that this is like the best block. And we all went and took a ride, left the convention, and for 2 hours, before sunset, we did a walk around. And that's a great memory because we were already, decked out in Chiller Theater. We were already decked out in our costumes. So it was a case of just zipping out, grabbing some candy, having some fun, and then coming back to the convention.
So when did you first start making money off of your fascination with horror?
I can't wait till that happens, when I really make money on horror, so I don't have to do everything else. I'm a DJ by trade. I do parties, I do events, weddings, bar mitzvahs, that whole gamut, that whole shtick. And so that was always my main source of income. And when we started the tours, it was like, where do I want to go that I think other people might want to go? That was really the impetus of it. And I said, wow, if I can get, a handful of people to go, it'll pay for my trip, and it'll be worthwhile. Never thinking that, oh, wow, there's a ton of people who want to go to Transylvania, who want to seek out the legend of Dracula, but also the history and all the great things that are connected and tied in with Vlad the Impaler and that, and that bloody history. So what I did is I came up with a schedule with some people in Romania, and we came up with all the things that I wanted to go and see and do. And I figured if I'm going to be judged as the horror person who wants to go to these places, people in turn would want to go to these same places. And so we went to places like Snagoff Monastery, which is an island in a part of Transylvania that you have to, in those days, you'd have to row boats to. Now the land has been bought as seaside community, and it's a wealthy area, and it's motorboats. Then it was rowboats. And we'd go to Shigashara, where Vlad was born. And we go to Bran Castle, which is so picturesque. When you think of Bran Castle, you think of all the Dracula movies. They use that. They use that as the setting. I think even Bram Stoker's Dracula with I forgot who was in it. That one uses that film. But the best is Poneri Castle, because that's the actual ruins where Vlad lived, where his wife, fell off or thrown off or jumped off the side of that's at the top of a mountain. You have to walk up many steps to get there, but the ruins are still there. So these are places that in 1 week we visited all. We combine the legend with the history. We make it fun. And we found out there were other trips that went, to the Transylvania region that were senior citizen trips. So people would get up, 7 a.m, have breakfast, do some sightseeing, come back for dinner, and that was it. They were done by 6, 7, 8 o'clock. Well, with us, that's when the parties begin. That's when we do clubs. That's when we do night stuff. That's when we have our wild parties, and a Halloween night, we actually do a dress-up party and all get decked out in our best, vampire outfits and horror costumes and all that. So this was something that was never done before. This filled a void for horror people who'd been to conventions, who read the books, who'd seen the movies, but wanted to do what we call the ultimate. And the ultimate was doing our drag tours. And the drag tours have been successful since 1998. The first few, we thought, whoa, this is amazing. We're going to continue to do it. And it was just a little margin I always put in from my trip or a guest trip, to the point that, we added a little money each time we would do it, so that it did start making money. And for a while, we were having 2 busloads, and we had over 100 people going. And it seemed that it peaked at about that point, because people who thought that was their bucket list thing, I think have done it. Most people who wanted to go on the Dracula tour have come with me and have done it. And now, so that kind of bled into, pun intended, a spin-off of ghost tours.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. Before you get to the ghost tours,
Yeah.
I know someone who went on one of your Drac tours.
Oh,
And yes, and we saw a picture of him earlier on while the pictures were running. That's Russell. That's
Count Russell. Count Russell.
Yeah, Roussel, yes. But Russell, would you like to come in and add any comments about the tour?
Sure. I went on the 2005 drag tour to Romania, and it was truly one of the best trips of my life. And I made friends on the tour. I originally was going to go with a friend, and she couldn't do it at the last minute, so I ended up going by myself. And I made a bunch of new friends, and we have stayed in touch. We actually went on a later tour on a ghost tour to England with Chucky, sorry. And we just had such a blast over there, because I think we slept like 2 or 3 hours a night if we were lucky. I mean, it was just nonstop. The first night we got there, we stayed in out on an island in this hotel that's been used in horror movies, and I don't think it's a hotel anymore. I think I've heard that it had changed, unfortunately, but it was truly an amazing experience. We got out there, the sun was setting, you could hear dogs howling in the distance out on the mainland.
They were wolves. They were
wolves. and we're in this creepy old hotel. And of course, you've got a bunch of horror people. And we're the only ones there. And so we're going to go exploring. And the other thing that happened that year, I think we got out there and their water main had broken. And so we couldn't get showers. We'd been flying like all day, and we get there and there's no water. They're like, here's what we've got for dinner, but we can't really cook. And so it was just such a wild thing. And so I remember late at night, we all took flashlights and we were exploring all the parts of the hotel, because nothing was locked. It was all just wide open. They didn't care. And we're in the basement, like digging through all their old stuff and looking for ghosts. And people claim that, I remember somebody said late at night their bed shook when there was no one around. And somebody else saw somebody dressed in old style military garb in the basement who, when they turned around, had disappeared. And person.
So that's the story that I actually tell when I do paranormal investigations. People say, were there any scary things that ever happened on your drag tours and ghost tours? And I tell them about this hotel, which was formerly a prison, formerly a convent, and changed into a resort, but now it's a private country club, so people don't stay there. And you described it beautifully. We stayed there 2 years, and the year that we went, there was that couple who didn't go to dinner. And we were told we can explore, everything was unlocked, except the sub-basement. There was a sub-basement below the basement. Now, we had all finally gone to bed at 10 or 11 or midnight, whatever, and that's when that couple woke up because they had napped through dinner. And so they went down below to the bowels of this resort, and they were doing the same exploring, but they somehow got into this sub-basement, which was locked, padlocked, triple locked, and walked down, and it was like an endless tunnel, they said. And halfway through, they saw what they thought was a guard, and they went, oh my gosh, we're probably going to have to turn around now. And they just waved to him and said hello. And he was dressed in old style military outfit. You described it pretty good. And then when they turned around, he wasn't there. And they thought, oh, that's weird. Maybe he continued on a separate door. Next morning, we're checking out. They're telling us this story at checkout. And the hotel clerk, his mouth drops and he turns white because he heard this story before, but never from a person who actually saw this ghost who roams the sub-basement. And this couple didn't know it was a ghost. So for them telling the story, you know, they were nonchalant and naive. We saw this guard, and the hotel knew about this this ghost that really walks the land. So I'm glad you brought that up. We got to stay there 2 years, and then it changed over. And then I started opening up haunted attractions. So that at that point, I stopped hosting this tour, and I miss it so much because of all the tours I do and all the vacations. It was truly magical. It was mystical. It was scary. And as Russell said, lifetime friends are made on these trips who you think, oh, I'm never going to see them again. No, it's not true. We exchange Halloween and Christmas cards. We stay in touch on Facebook, and it's just that adds the element of what makes the trip so special.
Yeah, and
thank you, Russ. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Go ahead.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you,
All right. Yes. All right. So you've done the drag tours and you've done the ghost tours. What other things have you done?
Well, I just want to tell you the genesis of the ghost tours was that all these people who went on the drag tours with me had such a great time and said, we really don't want to go back there again. You know, we've been up Borgo Pass and through the Carpathians. Can't you do something else? And I said, yeah, well, let's do sort of drag tour part 2 and go to London and go to the places that Bram Stoker, where he wrote his material, and Whitby Abbeys and all this great stuff. And we thought, well, we can expand upon that. We can do all of the haunted places in England. And then we were getting a core of like an A group who would come on all the trips. So I said, well, now we went to England. Now we got to go to Scotland. And we ready for this, Amber? We did England, we did Scotland, we did Prague, we did Czech Republic, we did Hungary. You know about Romania. We did Cuba, we did Israel. We did all these amazing. I'm probably forgetting some. And the people are saying, well, when are we going to do France? When are we going to do? They're looking for new places to do. And we added a weekend in New Orleans. We've done weekends in Salem. So this is mostly because we have a core of friends and people who want to continue to hang out together. And it's only 20 or 30 people, but it's enough to make a trip worthwhile and to plan and to do all this and to get, a local tour guide. We had in Cuba. People say, what's haunted in Cuba? And I said, well, like Israel, what isn't haunted there? And the tour guides were so amazing that I'm hosting it, but they're teaching us the history and they're showing us these places where there were bloody battles and atrocities that happened in all these places. And, it's definitely horror at its worst because sometimes so much of it is true.
Are you still planning your tours with the COVID and everything?
So we skipped 2020 completely. We had planned the ghost tour to England again for the people who hadn't been with us on that. And we postponed that. We never cancel. It's always a postponement in the hopes that things are going to happen. And I don't know when this is going to air, but in the middle of November, we're doing our New Orleans ghost tour, which is hopefully going to happen. And there's about a dozen of us, but it's mostly people who've been on the trips before. And there is a Halloween Dracula tour this year, and it's a small group, only about 10 or 12, but they're going to have the greatest time of their lives, and then hopefully next year things are back to normal.
What about you have your book out about the 10 places, the top 10 horror lists. Tell me some of those. What's on that list?
Well, I love giving you the introductions to how these things happen. So for years, I was writing an online column called National Horror Happenings. And that came about because I was doing the Drac tours and the ghost tours, and I wanted to maybe spread the reach. So, once a day, once a week, whenever I felt like it, I would go online, do National Horror Happenings. I'd review a movie I saw, or preview a movie, or write a review, or talk about an actor. And in talking about an actor, I think he said, "Can I give you my top 10 favorite horror movies?" And I go, "Oh yeah, great idea." And I thought, wait, let's make that a once a month thing. And I spoke to a friend of mine who runs conventions and said, "Hey, give me your top 10 list. I want you to be the first one I go online with." And then I did the actor. And in 2010, I produced something called Rock Con, Weekend of 100 Rock Stars. We had one of the Beach Boys there. We had Mary Wilson, she should rest in peace, from the Supremes, Tommy James, a lot of cool icons of rock and roll. And they were my guests at this event, 100 of them. And I said, "Hey guys, some of you, I need you to help me here. I do this list online. Give me your top." Some of them jumped all over it. Oh my gosh. Ron Dante from the Archies, the lead singer, gave me his top 10 list, and we called it Dante's Inferno. A lot of cool rock and rollers, the guitarist from Vanilla Fudge, bands that, obscure or famous. I said, this is great. I'm going to keep these on file forever. When the pandemic hit, I remembered these lists, and I had about 80 of them. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do a book. And I told my friends, and they said, "You're doing a book? Oh, really? It's about time you read one." And I said, no, I'm writing a book. Hello. And I thought, well, I only need 20 more lists. So I got on the phone, I got on email, I got on Facebook. I did everything I could to reach 100. Because in my mind, if I did a weekend of 100 rock stars at RockCon, I needed to do the book of top 10 horror lists with 100 guests who gave me their things. So in the book, 100 celebrities have contributed, and it's crazy because it's people who you wouldn't even know loved horror movies, and some of them were clever. They did 10 scariest scenes in comedy horror movies. Someone else did the sexiest 10 scenes in horror movies. So it was variations of the theme. And I approached Boris Karloff's daughter. Boris Karloff, of course, the most famous of the Frankensteins, right? Where is he? Right there. And his daughter hated horror movies. And I said, well, I got to get a list from you. I want you represented in the book. And she said, well, I'm going to give you a list of the top 10 things that scare me. I said, okay. And number 10 was doing this list. So it's really great because you're not getting just a laundry list of 10 items, Psycho, Night of the Living Dead. You're getting the reasons why people loved each one. John Sebastian, Woodstock legend, who was the lead singer of Love and Spoonful, gave me a list of 4. But I put it in because he gave a paragraph with each one on why they were so monumental in his life. So, Ed Asner, the actor who just passed, gave me a list, wrote me a note. He was the hardest one to get. I'd been tracking him down for a while. And in the note, it was something like, "You do better detective work than Scotland Yard. You come up with 10 of them." And he gave me a handful, and that was great. It was worth putting in. But some of them were like John Lennon's sister, Julia Baird, gave me one. And hers, it could have been its own book. It was a thesis on the horrors of Shakespeare plays. And it was like, whoa, this is beyond, what our readership level. I didn't expect something this amazing. So it goes from that to the most basic of lists. And, it's just the coolest people. If you're a pop culture person, a baby boomer, if you love horror, if you love rock, any of the aspects of celebrity-dom, you're going to get a real cool list from all these people. And it's worth reading because it's just, some of them crack me up. Others are like, whoa, brilliant. There was a time where I was sending out a sample list, and I used the late actress Karen Black as a sample because she gave 10 great choices and maybe two or three sentences as to why she picked them. And I think that might have scared, excuse the word scared, but it might have scared off some potential people who wanted to submit lists because it was so well done. And they thought, oh my gosh, I want to be represented well in the book. I don't want to come off as, some jerk just putting in a line or two. So I think it might have turned off a few people who might have otherwise gave me lists because the example I used was so coherent and so brilliant. And there's a lot of brilliant one. And then there's others that are just funny and comical. Eddie Deason, who people don't know unless I tell them, it's Eugene in Greece. He's that Jerry Lewis funny guy character. He's been the voice in SpongeBob, Polar Express. He's in the movie I Want to Hold Your Hand. He's in the movie 1964. When you see him, you know him. And that's what's great about this book. A lot of the people, it's like, of course, I forgot about them. How are they doing? Ruth Buzzy from Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In gave me a list. And it's like, wow, yes, she's still alive. And yes, she gave me a great list. And she played a witch in one of those movies. And she listed herself in one of the movies. Corbin Burnson, the actor. Yeah, I can go on and on. Dave Winfield, the Baseball Hall of Famer. And we have like 4 or 5 Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, two members of the Cars, Little Anthony from Little Anthony and the Imperials, names that conjure up baby boomers' childhoods. And, these some of the rock stars who gave us the soundtrack of our lives are now, telling us their favorite horror themes. And it's a really special book, and I'm very proud of it.
What's next? You've got the book, you've got the tours. Anything else coming out?
So much. So I've teamed up with a gentleman by the name of Nick Grossman, who is a clairvoyant. He's an empath, a shaman. And we do presentations as the shaman and the showman. He's the shaman. I'm the showman. I host the show. I promote the show. I do all the schmoozing with the audience. And then I bring him on. And he does the most amazing. He'll put on cameras and you'll see orbs flying over people. It's really it's a great theatrical presentation. But we also do visits. There's places throughout New England, as you know, that are notoriously haunted. So we'll bring groups there. We'll do an orientation. We'll have pizza first, and then we'll take the actual walks. And it's very limited. We don't put this out publicly. It's pretty much limited to people on our mailing list who have done these things before, because we produced Connecticut's first paranormal convention, which was Paracon. And Paracon, we thought, okay, we'll have 2 days. We'll have 100 people per day, maybe 10 vendors, palm readers, spiritualists, psychics. It'll be fun. Amber, we had 80 vendors and 1,500 people. So those are the people who we tell about our tours and our adventures. So it's just very exciting. That's and I plan to do a sequel to the book of Top 10 Horror List called Bride of the Book of Top 10 Horror Lists. And I'm already contacting, celebrities and fun people to get their lists. And we've already, got a great number of people who saw the book and now say, oh, I get it. I want to be in your next book. So maybe 2022, 2023, no rush. I want to do all the appearances for this. It's so much fun doing book signings. I'm in a lot of movies, believe it or not. And tonight, as we speak, is the Connecticut screening of a film called Night at the Eagle Inn. And I happen to play a cross-dressing the person who I'm listed as the debutante. And it's really creepy. It's really, I overdo the lipstick and I go a little berserk, and I'm only in the, probably on for 2 minutes, but it's a strong 2 minutes. So I called the theater and I called the film director and I said, hey, I've got a new book out. Can I do a book signing at the event? People will see me on screen. They'll walk out. We'll do a little meet and greet. I'll shake hands. I'll sanitize and I'll sign books. And so that's what I'm doing tonight. As we do our interview, I'm constantly lining up more interviews and book signings. It's so fun. It's so exciting. And I get to meet, people, kindred spirits is probably the best word, people who love the genre as much as I do. And so they're seeing like a fellow fan coming out with a book and being in all these movies. Here's some some films that on top is my character. Bottom here is a film called The Zombie Chronicles, where I'm shot in the head, which I love. Next to it, Dead Survivors, where I play a maniacal doctor with a cadaver jumping behind me. And so I really had a lot of fun being able to be an extra or get killed or do small scenes in films. In fact, this one is interesting. It probably doesn't fit on the genre here, but I got to play Elton John on HBO's Flight of the Conchords. So I made it to real TV and real life stuff. Patton Oswalt, the actor, and I were both competing Elton Johns. So if you ever get season 2, Flight of the Conchords, episode 7, called Prime Minister with Art Garfunkel, I'm in there playing Elton John.
Well, you know what? I want to be Cryptmaster Chucky when I grow up.
Yay!
Well, when you're planning your tours, think about Burlington, Vermont. We've got quite a history of ghost sightings in Burlington. We have a wonderful tour guide here that we'd love to hook you up with. She's fascinating, and you'd find some interesting things here in Burlington. Well, Cryptmaster Chucky, thank you so much. You're fascinating.
Thank you.
And I love your energy. I love your ideas, and I love your follow through. So congratulations, good luck, and safe travels, my friend.
Thank you so much. Anyone wants the book, it's available on Amazon, or they could contact me at the website and I'll personally inscribe and sign a copy. Can't leave without one more plug, right, Amber?
Leave the cell. That's right. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Wow, that was fun. Back to you, Amber. Now that October and Halloween are the gayest times of the year, it's no wonder that capitalist, commercialist America caught on. So how did they gentrify again the gays to make money? Well, here are not 5, but my top 10, and possibly more, ways others have glommed onto the spirit of this gay holiday season. They are a mix of amusing, annoying, and even some actually worth acknowledging. Now, at number 10, those streaming networks, they know what we want, or not, showing no imagination nor effort, and obviously no gays in the promotion department. I give you Halloween and Peacocktober. Seriously? Peacocktober? Is that the best you can do? Streaming, more like steaming. At number 9, just above and barely number 9, is Glocktober. Yes, there is such a thing to celebrate as your Glock. And celebrate your Glock are 3 words you'll never hear me say again. If you do, just shoot me. At number 8, it's Rocktober. Yeah, that's an easy one for those pot-smoking DJs from the 80s. And yes, we did have some great times back then. Number 7, with Shatner going where no 90-year-old man has gone before, I actually welcome Spocktober. At number 6, it's Schlocktober. It's dedicated to those bad horror movies you like to watch, but can't get anyone else to watch with you that will grab you in fear. What channel is that? At number 5, it's Walktober. Walktober? Next thing you know, Aerosmith will be selling kitchen appliances. Yeah, you can hear it. Walk this way. Number 4, okay, I do cook. I need ideas, and so I'm saying yes to Crocktober. At number 3, there's Chocktober, a celebration of all things chocolate, as there should be. Number 2, yes, coming in at number 2, but possibly first in my heart are Jocktober. You can keep your pumpkin spice candles, thank you. And Locktober. Now, I have no idea what this is, but it is a thing, and if that's week 1, show me what happened in week 2, 3, and 4. And the number 1 rip-up of the high holy day of homosexuals, Jesus Ween. Yes, Jesus Ween. I would not make that up. According to their website, Jesus Ween is a God-given vision which was born as an answer to the cry of many believers who find joy in sharing the gospel with the unsaved. Now, for trick-or-treaters, I wonder if they pass out grape juice boxes and Necco wafers. And one of their promotion goes one step further. Are you following Jesus? It's a rewrite of Matthew 4:19. 4:19? Whoever thought of that, I bet was more of a fan of 4:20. And that's this week's top 5 that was actually 10 plus. Happy Halloween. Yes, this is our 2nd annual Amber Live Halloween special. And we have a return guest from last year's. And that's local celebrity, author, and tour guide Thea Lewis. Tell us a story, Thea.
Amber, I want to thank you so much for having me tonight. It's wonderful being on your show, and combining it with Halloween makes it the most wonderful time of the year. I've been walking around the city of Burlington this year with all of my folks on the Queen City Ghost Walk tours, and everybody asks me, what's your favorite haunt? And telling someone what your favorite haunt is a little bit like telling someone what your favorite child is. It's very hard to do. But there's one place that people are enjoying, especially in downtown Burlington this year, and that is our stop at Vermont Pub and Brewery. Now, the Vermont Pub and Brewery was founded by a man named Greg Noonan. Sadly, he passed away, but he was the man responsible for people being able to have brew pubs in the state of Vermont. Now, it's a wonderful place to grab a beer or get a bite to eat, but I love it for its ghosts. It wasn't really on my radar at first when we were talking about haunted places in the city of Burlington, but little by little, young men would start approaching me at the end of my tours, and they would ask me why the Vermont Pub and Brewery wasn't on my tours. And I said, well, tell me more. I'm so intrigued. Well, story after story, I would hear things that were eerily similar from the young gentlemen who were going down to take a little break in the men's room in the basement of the Vermont Pub and Brewery. Now, a little bit of background. The Vermont Pub and Brewery is built on land that used to be owned by E.T. Englesby. You might recognize the name, Englesby Brook in Burlington. So these gentlemen would go downstairs and they'd be going about their business or just finishing up when something very peculiar would happen. Someone would come and stand next to them, a little too close for comfort. And when they would turn to address the situation of a lack of personal space, the gentleman would simply disappear. The way they described this apparition was he had hair tied back in kind of a rough ponytail. He was wearing a dark suit. And if they happened to have the presence of mind to look down, he was barefoot. Incredible. I had to talk to the folks who worked in that place to find out what was up. One of the people I talked to was a gentleman named Steve, who was a brewmaster there. He said he had encountered that same apparition downstairs in the Vermont Pub and Brewery. He said that he was headed down to use the men's room one day. And instead of going in, he paused for a moment because there was something strange happening to the door of the men's room. Someone was coming through it and headed into his brew room. He said he opened the brew room door and went inside and saw this gentleman standing on a drain in the middle of his brew room. He said, buddy, I don't know who you are or what you want, but you don't belong here. And at that point, the gentleman turned and walked right through one of the brew tanks and through the wall beyond. He said he'd also had the experience of being behind that tank, doing a repair. And in that space, big enough for just one person, he felt cold hands reaching out and touching his shoulders. So many stories from the Vermont Pub and Brewery. 2 bartenders I talked with who, after hours, were just sitting, relaxing, decompressing from their evening. They each had a beer, and in the middle of them on the bar was an ashtray, which, while they were talking, began to spin and spin until it spun itself off the bar. I've heard another story about the Vermont Pub and Brewery that I love. Mike T., the kitchen manager, told me that important ingredients were often going missing in the kitchen and people were feeling a little spooked. And no one had ever really seen the ghost, but finally, someone who cleaned inside the Vermont Pub and Brewery did see the ghost. And when they asked him, oh my goodness, we've never seen this apparition, and he's created so much havoc. What does it look like? And the person who was the morning cleaner said, well, he's hard to describe. Oh, no, wait. He looks a little bit like my brother Randy, who none of them had ever met, so not helpful. Sometime later, Mike T is working alone in the kitchen, and he was peeling potatoes at the sink, and a great big kettle that he needed came flying off a shelf across the room and hit the sink next to him. He hollered out, Randy, I don't need your crap this morning. Now, the Vermont Pub and Brewery is just one of my favorite places to grab a bite to eat or a drink. And some years back, My husband and I went to kind of dissect our ghost walk season. We love to pick a place in downtown Burlington every year to go and have a wonderful, relaxing bite to eat. So we went to the Vermont Pub and Brewery, and I ordered what I always order, bangers and mash. I love a good sausage and mashed potatoes and gravy. Well, what would I drink with this wonderful meal, I thought. Well, I looked at the beer menu, and on the beer menu that fall was a beautiful, just a delicious Bavarian ale called Beetlejuice. Well, Amber, you've seen me in my costume. Do I look like someone who would order a beer called Beetlejuice? Absolutely. I did, and it was delicious. So I called our server over, a lovely young man, a little cheeky, very funny, and I said, "Excuse me, could you bring me another Beetlejuice?" And he leaned over next to my shoulder, and he said, "Oh, love, I can let you order 2, but if you order 3, Michael Keaton comes to your table to bother you." Oh, Amber, I hope you have the happiest of Halloweens. I want to give you some tips if you should be going out for a little trick-or-treating later. If you should run into an evil or unfriendly spirit, well, it's a good idea to arm yourself with something that might fend them off. Some people say you can get rid of an unfriendly spirit by ringing a bell. And I have also read you can get rid of an evil or cantankerous spirit by throwing a key at it. I don't know if it works for ghosts, but it did work with an old boyfriend of mine. Happy Halloween.
Thinking and drinking with Rusty Peen. This is the ghost of Pappy Peen. My soul is trapped in a bottle of spirits, so now I'm a spirit too, dude. Heed my warning. Lucy Bell. Lucy Bell. Learn to fix a drink that ain't got no rum chata in it. Amber. Amber. There's gonna be a platinum vodka shortage in Beaver Pond. Stockpile now, or suffer the consequences of a sober winter. Rusty. Rusty. Stay the fuck out of my liquor cabinet, dude. This is the ghost of Pappy Peen. Heed my warning, bud. Heed my warning.
I'm so excited tonight because tonight is the first installment of a semi-quasi-regular segment that we're going to call Amber's Crazy in the Attic with Duane Scott Cerny.
What's in your attic?
Now, if you remember, a few weeks ago, Duane was on the show telling us all about the exciting things that he's gathered throughout his life and world and his antique searches. Well, tonight he's going to focus on Halloween. So, Duane, come on in. Hi, Duane.
Happy Halloween.
Yes. Trick or treat. Ooh,
How exciting.
I bet you've had a few tricks in your life and some treats as well.
It's a long show. We'll get there.
Okay. All right. So in your endeavors, you found some Halloween items. So share them with us.
Yeah. So I brought a bunch of things today. And what we'll end with was actually that everyone in the audience, all your viewers, can read their own palm and just see how we're going to pull that little trick off. Speaking of tricks. So first off, I just want anybody to get their smartphones ready because there's a bunch of things you're going to see. And you can take a picture of them and then print them out on your computer. So let's get our Halloween party started. This is spooky. Okay. Apparently, this is advertising from a cemetery. This is effective marketing. We'll start scary there. Okay. Okay, number 2. Remember when you were a kid and you go trick-or-treating? Well, here's a vintage Halloween bag. Now, you could take a picture of this and print it out, cut it up, some glue, and you've got a bag that's scarier than those under my own eyes. And the next one, we're just going to keep going. Okay, Ouija boards. Now, this is getting scary. This is the real thing. No more goofing around. This is an example of like an unusual one. I collect these, but I don't use them. Now, if you believe in this sort of thing, it can be a tool to speak to the spirit world. But again, you know, with spirits, just like in real life, some of them are jerks. So be careful. Yeah, but people also use tape recorders to capture EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon. And that's, again, not anything that can be toyed with because, you know, inevitably, the dead always seem to have an opinion that you probably won't agree with, like anti-vaxxing or something.
Oh, yes. What year would you say that Ouija board is from?
That's from the 60s. And, you know,
60s.
as an aside, a lot of Ouija boards were made here in Chicago on Michigan Avenue, and their address was 666 North Michigan Avenue. And when the building went condo, all the owners made the address change. Now it's 680 North Michigan Avenue, but clearly about a third of the Ouija boards were made at that location in Chicago.
Oh, how exciting.
Creepy footnote.
Yes.
Next. Ow. How is this not cool? Ghost memorabilia. So here's an example of vintage sheet music. Now, you know, now this isn't really that scary unless you play the song and discover how really scary a bad song can be. But no more Andrew Lloyd Webber jokes from me.
It's sheet music. How
It's sheet
appropriate
music.
for a ghost
Play it.
song.
You know what they say when you're depressed, you only use the black keys.
Ooh. We'll have to get cousin Craig to play that song for us. He's a master of the keyboard.
Oh, well, I'll send it over.
All right.
Okay, this is one of my favorite things. Okay, this is a vernacular snapshot. Now, this is a real image from my collection. It's not photoshopped. And just take a good look at this. This is someone with a collection of violins, but the violins appear to be making ghost music.
Huh.
Creepy, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, we're pulling out all the stops tonight.
Now, where did you get that? Where did you find that picture?
Oh, again, I collect photos, and just going through thousands of photos, and then that one jumps out, going, "What the heck is that?" You know. So yeah.
All right.
Inexplicable.
What's next?
Next one, fortune-telling decks. Now here, everybody's familiar with this. This is just kind of different examples of fortune-telling decks that were made. You could, tell your own fortune. Maybe in a future show, I can do a reading of Amber. We're not going to do that today because today she's getting her palm read, which is even more exciting.
Yes.
Yes. I love this. Okay, this is a game called Touch, and the idea of this was that 2 or 4 or more players would read each other's palms. So, I'm not really sure what that's about or what you end up with. But
it was a Parker Brothers game as well.
A Parker Brothers game, yeah. It was kind of a flop, but that's also what makes it great because then there aren't a lot of them, floating around. Okay, you are going to love this. So this is a real rarity. So this is a book called Your Fate in Your Hands. And this was circa 1935. So this was the palms of famous people of the time. Here we see Mae West. And I think the next one is Greta Garbo.
Yes.
What a great idea. I have no idea how they pulled this off. Of course, you read it and you go, a lot of people go, who are these people? But of course, this show, we know who those people are. That's one of my favorite things. I always think it's funny. You put those two together, and Mae West is "Why don't you come up and see me sometime?" And then you got Greta Garbo, who wants to be alone. So those two weren't going to get together, apparently.
No.
Okay, get your smartphones ready, kids, because here it comes. Next. Okay, so again, I want you to print this up at home because, believe it or not, you'll be able to go and read your own palm.
And we will have.
It shows the lines of the hand. This was actually. You can leave that up for a while, Russell. Thank you. This was actually a soda pop advertisement from the 1930s, and I manipulated it and used it for some advertising like 20 years ago. But it was one of the favorite things I ever created. And whenever I put out a stack of these cards, people would just take all the cards. So it was a lousy business card because I was always running out of cards.
And we will have that. We'll have that available on our website as well, so people can download that,
which is just perfect because everybody can get a kick out of that. Where but on this show can you read your own palm?
Yes.
Right. All right, but here we're getting to the crux of the matter. Did we Russell? Did we have the your husband's? Yeah. So I thought this would be fun that we could. It's Halloween and Amber can find her own husband. Isn't that a great idea? So if you're your Halloween husband. So these are arcade cards from fortune telling machines, and for like a nickel, you'd put this in and it'll give you a card and it predicts who your husband would be. So Amber, you could pick any one of them. I don't know. Did anybody do it for you?
Let's do that.
You want to do that? Well, yeah. It's funny for just like in real life, this is what a nickel will get you. So, all right. But now we're gonna go back to the palm. So Amber was kind enough to, and trust me, I'm no expert on anything, but Amber was kind enough to provide for me copies of her hands. You can hold them up. They're actually your hands. You still have them, right? For me to do a reading tonight on Halloween Eve. But seriously, so the palm is really it's like a mirror to your soul. Think of it as like a personal hologram, to be 21st century about it, right? It's like your fingerprint, your DNA. No two people have the same palm. It's exclusive to you and you alone. No two palms are identical unless it's happy hour in Palm Springs, but that's another thing. Now, based on the hands that Amber provided me, assuming they're yours. Okay, well, let's start with your right hand. Let's let you hold up your right hand. Repeat after me. No, it's like we're getting married in New Hampshire. So the right hand represents now and into the future. It was interesting because your lifeline cuts very close to your thumb. If you would take a look at it, and that indicates that you can be inhibited, cold, and unresponsive. So you might want to check your pulse just to make sure that you're still with us tonight. But your heart line has branches at its end. You take a look; it does, and that means that you're receptive by nature. So no top or bottom judging from me. You're receptive. Your head is very strong. You're strong-willed, and you have an exceptionally fertile imagination. Right? Come on, like here we are. What the heck's going on? It's almost. And I'm go to the books. I went through all kinds of books. It's with you. It's almost instinctual by nature. It's just who you are. Though you have a tendency. I'm going by the books here to kind of live in a dream world, or perhaps here on the internet. Okay, now, Amber, your left hand. Let's hold up your left hand. That's a divorce in Rhode Island. Your left hand is your past and the traits that you were born with. So this is just who you are. Nothing you can do about that. And we'll start with the good news. So your lifeline is long and healthy, and here we are getting through it all. Your hepatic line, which was very interesting, it means that you're very harmonious in nature. You're great with partnerships and working with people and getting along with almost everyone. However, somebody's a however. Yeah, it's unavoidable. It's like you're prone to having a bilious temperament. And I had to look that up. It's kind of derived from the word bile, which you can see this is it's not going good here. But a bilious temperament, and it's characterized by moments of hedonism, conviviality, and extrovertism. All fun words to say. And now all these traits are applicable to you, and not just on the weekends. Now, seriously, all this seriously. I'm not going to. If we're doing this, I'm doing this. Now, your lifeline and your heart you're such a good person. You're just a good, happy person with strong and loving tendencies. Though, and this is kind of where it gets a little weird, it's frequently interrupted. It's inconsistent. And this happens over and over again. And this is what it says. In your life, you'll have moments of depravity. Seriously, which in your case, I think is probably a good thing. those moments of depravity. Now, in the line of your head, and this is almost like prophetic for what we're doing tonight. You have sound judgment, but again, you're often interrupted by others or yourself. And you have, I have to quote out here, there's a lack of steadiness in your mind, which to me pretty much defines this segment and the end of my participation in this Halloween party that Amber's crazy in the attic.
Thank you so much, Duane Scott Cerny. You know, I'd say 98% of what you said is true.
Okay. Well,
I've got people who could back it up.
That 2%, I need it in milk. Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll see you back in a week or two for another segment of Amber's Crazy in the Attic. Thank you very much.
What's in your attic?
And you know how we like to end the show? It's with Rocco. And you know what? He's in the Halloween mood too.
Rocco Zamboni versus the Internet.
Hey, it's me, Rocco. And guess what? It's that time of year again. When the air gets cooler, the leaves start falling to the death. That's right, I'm talking about fall. Or autumn, if you want to be a douchebag. So, what's the best thing to do in the fall? Pick pumpkins, of course. And where's the best place to pick pumpkins? I'm talking about Long Island. Specifically, the eastern North Fork of Long Island, where you've got dozens and dozens of great pumpkin farms. Now, I know you're saying, well, how do I find them? Well, you're just flipping your phone book and you pick one out. Or you could use that Google thing if you want to be fancy. Some of my favorite places over the years have been Bakowitz Farm. You got Windy Acres. You got Harbs, of course. Stakey's is where I went this year. And look, you can see some cool pumpkins out in that pumpkin patch. They're just sitting there waiting for someone to pick them. You got the Secretariat, which I think they made from a horse. We've got the rare Perlman pumpkins. You got the hybrid Pam Anderson. That's 2 giant pumpkins, but they're filled with silicone. You got the warty Goblin. I don't know what that is, but it's creepy. We've got Mrs. Wrinkles. And then you got the Lunch Lady, which I'm not quite sure what it is, but when you pick it, it's got a cigarette and it hisses at you. Hey, look at these. Check out that one. This one's my favorite. I'm not quite sure what the hell that is, but it's hilarious. So all these pumpkin farms are starting to get a little crazy now because they know the pumpkins aren't just going to draw you in. So they got corn mazes, they got rides, they got some hay rides, and all this other stuff to say, give me your money, come have some fun, and you're going to leave a happy person. And it's true, you do. Alright? So, come on out to Eastern Long Island. You're going to love it. Tell them Rocco sent you, and they'll probably say, who? And you say, Rocco Zamboni.
Love that, Rocco.
Wow, wasn't that fun? All those interesting people and stories and visuals of Halloween. Thank you, Russell, for making it all happen. And you know what? We're going to be back next week with another great show on Amber Live. I'm going to be there. Hope you will be too. Boo.
Hey, Boog, do you like to trick or treat? I get candy for free, duh. What's not to like? Yeah, but your mom hides most of it from you. You know, I've always wondered why the Easter Bunny's candy was a lot like my Halloween candy. I bet she gives it to him. Hey, Mom! New rule! No recycling holiday candy! Wait till he finds out what she does with his old goldfish.